Hello, it's the 20th of March 2019 and Brexit rumbles on and on and on, and we've got fresh news today, but just to recap on some of the older news, Mr Bercow, the Speaker of the House of Commons, said that Mrs May could not bring her Brexit proposals back to the Commons, but she's proposing to do such, it seems. She's written today to Donald Tusk in the European Union and asked for an Article 50 extension. And I think one of the bothers with the Brexit is that there's so much being said. So I was very, very intently listening to what Donald Tusk's reply. Mrs May wrote to him and said she wanted a short extension to Article 50 to go on no later than the 30th of June. But when Mr Tusk said his reply, he said that we have to look at this. I think it's possible that we will think about granting this extension, but it will be on the condition that the House of Commons, Mrs May's deal. And he said at the end of that, the dates are not yet fixed. I don't think that was his exact words, but he did not tell it. He said that the date was not yet finalised. In the meantime, Mr Barnier has said that the EU has finalised all its no-deal Brexit preparations, and the European Council will weigh up the possibility of this request from Mrs May. This afternoon, Keir Starmer organised an emergency debate in the House of Commons, and much was said, but I don't think any more outcome was actually achieved from all of that. However, let's move to the Scottish part of the Brexit thing, which is obviously what we're interested in broadcasting Scotland. Michael Russell, we've got a bit of footage from him in a minute, but he's made a statement. The UK must not continually ignore Scotland's interests. Constitutional Relations Secretary Michael Russell today told the UK government to stop ignoring Scotland's national interests in their attempt to pass a Brexit deal. Mr Russell was speaking following a conference call with the Cabinet Office Minister David Lidington and Welsh Brexit Minister Jeremy Miles. He said people in Scotland overwhelmingly voted to remain in the EU, but have been ignored throughout the Brexit process. Media reports now suggest that the Prime Minister is offering the Northern Ireland's DUP a direct role in talks with the EU, while Scotland is shut outside, which is totally unacceptable. It's also been suggested that Northern Ireland will be given extra public spending cash with nothing for Scotland as the Prime Minister attempts a backroom deal. That is all unacceptable, and I made that clear. I also raised the general question of what the UK government's overall intentions were and what it planned to do over the next few days to avoid a no deal. Anyway, Broadcasting Scotland was in Elgin and managed to talk to Michael Russell for a few moments, and I think we've got a little video clip of that now.
What the outcome is going to be. My own expectation is that the Prime Minister will require to have a conversation with Brussels before she can conclude whatever happens in London. But I am at the stage where I think, like most people, I am baffled by what is taking place. And I think the sooner there is a resolution, the better. And in my view, that resolution has to be either no Brexit or a referendum.
So we'll have to wait and see. It seems that Mrs May wants to bring the deal back to the House of Commons next week, but she's got to dress it up in a totally different way in order for Mr Bercow to allow that to happen. So it could be a general election, it could be a people's vote, it could be crashing out of the EU without a deal in just 9 days' time. I don't know how you feel about that. but maybe it's worth thinking about. So now we move on to Radovan Karadzic, who was the leader of the Serbian Democratic Party from 17th of December 1992, and then he served as the President of the Republic of Serbia and the Supreme Commander of its armed forces, and he was convicted in a trial of genocide and crimes against humanity and violations of the laws or customs of war, and he was sentenced to 40 years imprisonment. Now, Radovan Karadzic is actually 73 years old now, so maybe he will live longer, I don't know, but today there was an appeal against that sentence, and that sentence has been now changed. And now it is a lifetime sentence. So if he does live in excess of 40 years from now, he will not be allowed to leave the prison. He's there for good. Yeah, he was, I mean, for those who don't remember all of this, it was a terrible war in Bosnia, and there was a list of charges to permanently remove Bosnian Muslim and Bosnian Croats from Bosnian Serb claimed territory and the throughout Bosnia-Herzegovina between October 1991 and November 30th, 1995. Let's see what else it was. So there was crimes against humanity, genocide, and acting as a joint criminal enterprise. Anyway, he's going to be in jail for the rest of his life, and that's Radovan Karadzic, and that was the appeals chamber of the International Criminal Court, and that was news from today. Now, economic growth. Scotland's economic output has been steady for 8 months now, but it's been growing steadily is the real catch there. Growing by 0.3% in the fourth quarter of 2018, which is actually a higher rate than the UK as a whole. So Derek Mackay has said quite a bit about this today, and the UK as a whole are only growing at 0.2% compared to the same time last year, and the thing has been driven by services and construction sectors which both grew by 1.7%. Derek Mackay said, with 8 consecutive quarters of growth and record low unemployment, down to 3.4%, the lowest in the UK, Scotland's economy continues to go from strength to strength. Growing our economy and supporting businesses and jobs is a top priority for the Scottish Government. We have provided more than £5 billion of capital investment to grow and modernise Scotland's infrastructure, and a wider package of support to business, including the maintaining of competitive business rates and a package of providing the most generous package of non-domestic rate reliefs anywhere in the UK. So there was also Derek Mackay. He actually also pointed out that the Scottish Government would not be getting any more money in comparison to the DUP in Northern Ireland. He said Scotland should receive more than 3.3 billion when Northern Ireland was given 1 billion for the Democratic Unionist Party for their support of the Mrs May's government. In PMQs today, Prime Minister's questions down in Westminster, the MP Stephen Gethins called on the Prime Minister to intervene urgently to protect a Scottish family after the Home Office told a mother to make a perilous journey all the way from Yemen to take an English language test. Now, as you probably know, Yemen is in the grip of a war, and she's got to, the idea is that she's got to come all this way to prove that she can have a spousal visa. And one wonders just how she can possibly manage to do that. Kirsty Blackman today introduced a bill into the Commons which aims to close a loophole to protect migrants from domestic abuse. The bill seeks to extend the eligibility for the Destitution Domestic Violence Concession, DDVC it's called, to migrants who are here other than on spousal visas. Now, Historic Scotland have, hang on, do beg your pardon. Historic Scotland worked to tackle, Historic Scotland's work to tackle the impacts of climate change on the historic environment and support of Earth Hour have been recognised today as the organisation was crowned Public Body Champion by the WWF Scotland. Alex Patterson, Chief Executive of HES, accepted the award alongside the HES climate change team at Edinburgh Castle. One of the 12 sites managed by Historic Environment Scotland, and that will be switching off its lights for this year's Earth Hour on Saturday the 30th of March. Alex Patterson welcomed the award when saying, raising awareness of the impacts of climate change on the historic environment and supporting Scotland's carbon reduction targets are key priorities for our organisation. And I'm delighted to see our efforts in these areas recognised by the WWF Scotland. Scotland's climate is changing at an unprecedented rate, and as the lead public body for historic environment, we have a responsibility to place sustainability and environmental responsibility at the heart of everything we do. So, now, there's a story here that struck me today. The Prime Minister of New Zealand, after the terrible events in there last week, has called for a global fight to root out racist right-wing ideology. And so following last week's deadly attacks in the mosques in Christchurch, she's been talking about this. She's decided she will not mention the name of the man who committed this terrible atrocity, but she is appealing to the rest of us in the world to really stand up and root out this right-wing ideology which has caused such terror and horribleness on the other side of the world from Scotland this last week. So I don't know, I think that's just about all we've got for you today. And so thanks very much again for watching us, and hope we'll see you again in a short amount of time next week. Bye-bye.